All right, well, good morning and welcome to the February 26th edition of Keystroke Live. I'm Dave Hunsinger, Director of Sales here at SBS, and I'm going to talk today about the database screens editor. I am going to mute everyone, and you can type a message in chat. Hopefully I'll remember to look at it, but I will unmute everybody at the end, and then we can have questions. Remember, at same time, Wednesday, 10 a.m., same place. We've kind of been going through editing different things in February here. And this morning we're talking about the database screens editor. It is a dealer-only utility, way to add value to sales. We don't provide it to customers a lot of times just because it's a little more difficult to use, and it's basically something you should help a customer tune in their screens how they want them, and then you never have to touch them again. You can change what is displayed. You can add existing fields, remove them, make them bigger, make them smaller, have boxes, titles, labels, but you can't add new fields. The other thing you can't do is you can't relabel fields. So one is if it was a bookstore and you wanted to change description to title. Well, you could change description to title on your database screen, but when you went to a filter in the report manager, it would still be description. Or when you were creating a form, it would still be description. It doesn't change that universal label that Keystroke uses to identify the field. You can have different sets of screens based on security level, and then you can move things, consolidate things to an individual screen. I'll show you a few examples. But I am first going to go to, I'm looking at my Keystroke directory, and in here I'm using the tutor data this morning, so our sample data. So I'm in the Keystroke directory, and then below that is the tutor subdirectory, which is just a data directory, so it's a lot like data where most people's data is. And then below that is a DB screen directory where all of your database screens are located. And this may be a little small on your screen here, but they all start DBS for DB screen. And then there is a letter for what database it is. C would be customer. And then A would be add mode versus here's DBS, C for customer, E for edit. And then a screen number, so it's 199. That is screen number 1, security level 99. So this one is add mode, screen number 2, security level 99. This one would be add mode, screen 3, level 99. And then we have edit 1, 2, and 3. Now, typically in our defaults, the add and the edit don't appear any different. But what's different is the defaults, because the database defaults are stored in this screen file. So when you're adding a file, you might want the defaults to act differently than when you're editing a file. So we have customers, department, we have inventory down here, DBSI. Now, if we look at the inventory, you see we have add mode for 107 and add mode for 199. So that's screen 1, security level 7 or lower, 0 through 7. If you're greater than a 7, you get this screen mode 199. So that's a clerk, lesser screen mode. So you can have different sets of screens based on your security level. I'm going to show you an example of that. All of these are initialized when you start Keystroke. So if you don't have any of these, or if you delete them all out of there, or heaven forbid, if you mess up somebody's database screens and they're a complete mess, you can just delete these files out of here. When you start Keystroke, they'll get reinitialized in their default form. If you're not sure what's going on, you can always rename these or maybe create a directory. I could go in here and create a new folder and say call it back. I can select all these, copy them, go into back, paste them. So now I've got those backed up so that if I really mess up screens, I can always get back to where I started from. Now if we go into Keystroke, here's a look at the database screens editor. This is our forest greens appearance background I've got going here. So, and I'm actually in the database manager here, and I'm logged in as a manager. I see the whole screen. So this would be edit mode, screen 1, security level 07, because I have a better than 07. Now I could have multiple sets of screens. I could have screens for security level 1, I could have screens for security level 5, I could have screens for security level 7 and security level 99. By default, we just have it set up for 7 and lower, and we say 99, but that's really like 8, 9, 10, those security levels. So if I clerk in as a security level 8 right now, I have set up a different inventory screen for high security level clerks, for less secure clerks. It changes to this other screen, and I just I think I got data there. I just edited this. I took out a lot of fields. I changed the size of boxes. I locked out all of the on hand. If you wanted to lock out pricing and stuff, you could. You know, you can't get it. This is just the on order quantity and the expected date. But this is saying, okay, you can go in and look at the prices and change them if you need to, but you can't get at any of the other secure information. There's not screen 2, 3, or 4. There's just this one screen for this security level. If I clerk back in as my manager clerk, it will go back to that screen where I see everything. All the data is still there. All the data is the same. I'm just changing what is displayed and what a clerk can get to. So if I go to Custom Database Screens Editor, remember this is a dealer-only utility, so you can license it at a end-user site using the DOLU, the dealer-only license utility, or you can edit screens, and they're pretty easy to zip up and move around. So I'm going to go to Database Screens Editor, select Inventory, and I am just going to look at our standard edit screen. This is for security level 7, 0 through 7. So this is in normal mode. Now if I hit F9, that puts me into edit mode. You see I get this white bar at the bottom where it tells me what field number is. I get a flashing cursor, so I can highlight any field. If I wanted to take this extended description, I can hit enter. So that's highlighting the label for the extended description field. I could just move it down, move it over. I'll move it down a line. And then I can go, here's my long description. I hit enter. I can move it down. Then I can make these fields longer or shorter by holding the control key and using the arrow. If I use the right arrow, makes it longer, so I could stretch it out here. Now, it doesn't necessarily do me a whole lot of good to make it 120 characters wide if that extended description field only holds 60 characters. It'll just never fill up the whole field. With each field, I can hit F3, and you see I get a width and a length. Now, the width is actually how many characters of data can go in there. The length is what's displayed. So some fields you might be able to put 60 characters in, but you're only displaying the first 30. So that will tell you what's there. Also on here, you've got what field we're using. Here are my inventory fields. I'm selecting long description. You can link fields together if you need to. You can set individual security levels. We do that for quantity on hand so that it's updated by keystroke and not changed. Whether you can edit it, if it's active. This is just the position on the screen, the column and the row. And then you can give fields certain attributes, flags of making them all uppercase. We did that because I think it was between version 4 and 5. We used to have all uppercase on the inventory screen, and then we went to upper and lower, and some people wanted to stick with uppercase, and some people wanted upper and lower. Numbers, what characters are there. If it gets displayed in only POS or only advanced, there is the payment code field that changes to food stamp field depending on if you're on POS or advanced. That's an example of how that is used. And I can do that. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just go ahead and save this. I can hit F10, comes up. This is where I can determine, so what this screen mode, edit, add, view, screen number, and level, that determines those last 4 characters of the file name. Remember, it was E or A for edit, add, screen number 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on what screen you're looking at, and then the security level. So you don't have to worry about renaming all those. This will do it for you when you save it. And now I am going to pull up my edit mode level 99 that I've kind of hacked this screen up already just to give you an idea. So one is you can change the position and size of the entire screen. If you see, I'm going to move my cursor up onto that top line. I hit enter. Now I've picked up the entire screen. So I can move it up, I can move it down, I can move it left with I can move it right with the right arrow, I can move it left with the left arrow. If I hold down the control key and use my arrows, I can stretch it down. I can stretch it down to make it bigger, and to the right to make it wider, move it up, move it over. So I can move that screen around. I can also, let's call this, I can call this Dave's INV screen. So I can put a different title, and then I just hit enter, and that will set it down. Then I can move my cursor and say, okay, I want to move this product code up, and I'll move manufacturer and description up because I want to take department, category, and location and pick them up and move them here. So I'm going to put department here. So you can kind of move things around how you want to. What happens when you move these fields around, if I hit F3 here, it's field number 31. You see that at the top of the field definition box. This would be field number 30. You see it's also displayed down here. Well, this base price below it, that's field number 12. So right now my cursor, if I just saved this, and if I hit F9 to go out of, when I hit tab, see, it'll go from class to base price, and then once I get through all these fields, it's going to move to department. So that field number defines the travel of the cursor and how you move from field to field. I can do up here under mode, there is sort fields, or I can just hit Shift F8. When I do that, it's going to order fields top to bottom, left to right. So now, and hit F9 to go into screen mode. When I look at department, it's going to be didn't change those field numbers. See if okay, there. I had to be in edit mode. So now it was 31. Now it's field number 13. Didn't renumber the label because that doesn't matter. So now the cursor will travel properly around the screen so that it works okay. And that Shift F8, that renumbers them. It's not perfect. Remember, doing this is a bit of an art form. These pricing boxes are just like the main box. I hit enter to pick it up, you know, and I can say, oh, well, let's put everything in this big fancy box. You know, so I'm going to, and then I'll move it over here and stretch it out a little more. Hit enter to drop it. Oh, well, now I've got to, maybe I'll just get rid of this quantities box so I can, got to pull the pricing box out from on top of it. So here I can just hit enter. Now I've selected the quantities box. It moves up and down. But I can just hit delete, and it pulls that off of the screen. So now I can take my pricing box, put it back where I want it, hit enter, and there I've dropped it again. One thing to watch out for, if you look like this base price field, I hit enter, you see the field is much wider. If I hit F3, doesn't tell me for the labels, but my field is maybe 8 characters where I've only got 5 characters of text in there, or maybe it's 10 characters and I've got 5 characters of text. That's because as you resize the screen, and if I just grab the screen and make it narrower, you don't want to run out of space for your field. So especially when you get into longer labels like manufacturer and product code, you want to be sure you leave enough space so that when your screen is different sizes, that you've got enough room in the field to not be cutting off the text. So that's where if I look up at product code, you see it actually goes all the way over to the edge of the screen. That's so as the screen sizes change and the font sizes change, you don't run out of space. If you use any of the appearance function where you can say, there's a thing in there called GUI scale, the graphical user interface scale, which by default is set to 0.8 or 80% font size. You can change that to 1.1. The text is all going to get bigger, but how we've set up a lot of these screens, there's not enough space allocated for that text, and so you might get the left side being cut off because the text got too big for the allotted space. And then also, if I just wanted to change this to code, I move over it, hit enter to select it, and then I could just start typing stuff. But really, what I need to do is go back. If I want it to be just code, I have to go back to the beginning, get rid of the text, type in code, and hit colon, and drop it. So that's how I can edit that text, just like if I just wanted to hit enter there and call this, just hit backspace to remove it, I can call it inventory price and quantity info. So then I just hit enter to drop that. And you see here, like I put some text in, so there are, and then this is quantity on order, so there are 50 on order expected to arrive on, and that's the expected date that is March 5th or whenever that would be. So you can just, if I wanted to come in here and put in a, so I can hit, if I want to add a field, I just hit insert, and I'm going to add a label. It puts the asterisk in there just so you don't lose track of it, but first I need to hit enter. That selects it, drops it, I'm in edit mode. Then I can hold down control and hit the right arrow to move it across the screen there. And then I can hit backspace and then please remember remember to clock in and out each day, or whatever you want to. But if you wanted to put just text or information, you could go ahead and put that in there, so then that becomes part of the screen. So if I hit F10 to save it, yes. Now you see on this screen, I've got the default information too, 50% profit margin for base price, that's from cost. So if a relationship between cost and base price exists, so if the cost is $5 and the base price is $10, when you change the cost to $6, the base price changes to $12. If the cost is $6 and the base price is $5, that relationship is broken. It's not a 50% profit margin anymore, so it would just ignore that default information and wouldn't change with the base price when you're editing. Same with the level 1 is 95% of base price, level 2 85. That's just the default information. If you look down here, you see with the, if I hit enter on payment code, you see there's a food stamp item and a payment code. That has to do with the food stamp item. If I hit F3, it has that flag turned on. I'm going to hit insert here to display in POS only. And the payment code has the flag to display in advanced only. So that way I can put them on top of each other and I get one in advanced and one in POS. So that's how that relationship works. You can have fields linked from different things. If I go to my just standard inventory screen, I believe this one has it with the, what am I, I forget what I have linked in here anywhere, but you can link things to certain fields so that it will look up different items. What did I have that with? I forget exactly right now, but these buttons down at the bottom are just, I can hit enter. So that serial number button is a field. If I wanted to get rid of it, I could just hit delete to delete it. I won't do that right now. But that's what I did for my other screen. So the other thing you might want to do is, hey, oh, I won't move it around, but we never use the custom screen. I can hit enter here, delete that custom field. I can, and that is edit screen number 4. I can come out here and do database inventory, edit screen 4, and just delete that screen. And now, if I go back here, sorry, I lost the sharing there. But so now, when I'm just looking at screens, I only have the option of the main screen, the order screen, and the more screen. I just eliminated the custom. And I'm using inventory as an example, but you can do that with any of the database screens, customer, vendor. So here's a customer. I'll go ahead and save that screen. Same thing with the customer screen. Hey, we never use birth date. I just want to get rid of that. I don't need to see that. You can just come in here and easily remove fields, rearrange things, get rid of boxes. However you want to simplify it to make it more effective and to add some value to the resale for your customer. Remember, it's not adding fields. And again, this like customer code, I could call that customer ID, but whenever I use it, sorry, if I go to the variable field, whenever I use it, in Keystroke, when I go to set a filter on a report or put fields on a report, it's going to call it the code for the customer, it won't identify it as the ID anyplace. So you can change those names, but it's kind of limited in effectiveness. It's just what people see on the screen. And if people are always entering information in the wrong field, or say you want to, your class, you're using a valid entries list and you want to always choose a class off the valid entries list, you could put a little note in here. You know, I could insert a label, make it a little wider, you know, and say hit insert for list. And so that will always appear below it so people remember, oh, hit insert for list. So a lot of ways you can add value. Remember, you can't add fields. We've got all the fields there. One other example, if I go to, let's use the customer screen 3, the more customer field. You see we've got this info 1, info 2, long info 1, long info 2. That's how it will be displayed everywhere, but it might be better to put license number for if they're a contractor, or if you're using that for some other piece of information, you can change those titles so it is easier to use. So that is database screens editing in a nutshell. Remember, these are also keystroke data files. They're not text files. They're not HTML or XML. You can't go edit them from outside of Keystroke. You have to do it here in this. Works the same in Express, POS, and Advanced. So you can edit screens in any one of those. In fact, in Express, there's a lot of fields that we haven't taken, they're still available, we just don't display them to keep it simple. And if you needed to add that field, you would simply go in the database screens editor and add that field in. So that is my talk about database screens editor. I could go on and on and on. I did all the screens for Keystroke Express, and so trying to keep it simple, keep it neat, and it's a powerful tool. It's a good way to add value to existing and new customers. And with that, I am going to unmute everybody. And are there any questions about database screens editing?
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Bob Tremblay. How are you?
Hey, Bob.
Hi. Hey, just a question. So, and I apologize. I got in on this about probably almost halfway through your presentation. But
okay. And we will, probably not today, but tomorrow Nick will have it posted up on YouTube as well.
Okay, great. Just a question I had is with regards to the actual fields available that you could add in Express. Is there a list of that, or is it just going in and seeing what comes up when you're in the screen editor like that?
There is a list, and it's in the, we have a dealer release notes document for Express, and so if you give us a call, we can send that to you. It doesn't have lists of every single field, but it describes what we left in and what we took out.
Okay, all right. That's okay. I think I've seen that. I just wanted to. Okay, all right, very good.
Yeah, but the lists in Express do display everything available. Things that aren't available, we have taken out.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Back on your screen that you did, that there was that one input field that ended up half white and half gray, background color.
Right. I think that was the. If I catch you right, I'm going to go.
I think it was on your Dave screen.
Yeah. That's
that one.
The payment code. And Just got to go back into. It used to make the screen go black, so I always call this ghost mode. But what it is there's two fields there. There's the payment code that's available in Advanced, and this is the payment code that's only available in POS. That's just basically the food stamp item.
Yeah, I understood that part. Up on description, Dave. Why is the input area half white, partly gray?
That is because that's interesting. It's typically because the field width is longer than the field length. Maybe wanting to try to correct it for me there. And see, because if I shorten what's displayed,
yep.
Now it's all 21, and that's how it should look. As I said, too, the database screens editor can be a bit of an art form. Now, and I could have an overlap there. Oh, and that's what it is. My class field is overlapping. So if I shorten that class field, then I can go back to description and stretch it out again. So when I had moved around the screen, I overlapped those fields, which you can do in some cases and can't do in other cases. But because it wasn't displayed, it let them overlap, and that's where it's not. That's why it's not doing that anymore.
Okay, I got it. I wanted to make sure I understood it. So.
All right. Yeah, thanks. That was a good question. That was me kind of hurriedly making this funny screen. All right. Well, don't forget you can always call in with questions, and anybody here is pretty well versed on the screens editor. But remember, you get Mike Gebb next Wednesday. That would be March 5th. So look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for attending today.